Well, hey, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Still about 5 minutes till we get started, but we wanted to let folks in uh, and let you get settled in before we do get started. I'm sure we'll have some more joining us, but while you're getting settled in, if you want to, feel free to pull up the resource document that goes along with this session. I'll copy and paste the link into the chat as well, but it's bit.ly/Curts-AI. That takes you to a document that looks like this. I'll copy that link there as well, and I will drop that into the chat if that makes it easier for people to get to. That's my main AI resource document. It doesn't go like, step by step right along with this particular session. This is a little bit more of a keynote-y kind of a session, but it is the one that I pull from for most of my AI trainings, and a lot of the vast majority of the tools I'm going to reference or the things I reference do show up in there. And I'll be sure to periodically, as I am doing so, I'll pop over to that document and point out like, oh, now the thing we're talking about, here's where you would find that if you want to, reference it in the document. So feel free to get that pulled up before we get started here. And I definitely want to encourage people to take advantage of the chat throughout the session. I do have the chat pulled up. If you have questions, comments, I am not here today to present to you. I'm here to learn with you. And so I hope to learn from you as well. So I'd love to, hear whatever you may want to share. Like if there's been a amazing nugget you've picked up throughout the sessions the last 2 days, and you want to throw that into the chat, a tool, a resource, an idea, a question, something that you're working on, please feel free to do that. And also, obviously, throughout the session here, if you if I show a tool that you have used and you want to comment on that, please do so. If there's just maybe a question you're curious about, throw that in as well. If I can, I will try to address those throughout the session as well. And I guess all I would say as far as the chat as well, I'm sure everybody does this every single session. Everybody gets in here. They're like, feel free to introduce yourself and say where you're from. So maybe we can certainly do that. But if you want to say who you are and where you're from, maybe let's also throw in something like your current favorite AI tool. So maybe put in your name, where you're from, and what's the tool that you're currently excited about. That would be wonderful. And I can kick that off. I'll say I'm Eric from Ohio, and the tool I am currently excited about, it's called School AI. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one. It's not Magic School AI. Oh, I love Magic School AI too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying no to that. But School AI, if you're not familiar with it, that's my current obsession when it comes
We had
to AI.
we had a couple of presentations on that in the
Yeah,
last.
it's just the bomb. It really is. The folks who run the company are so nice. I've had a chance to meet them, had dinner with them one night at a conference, and stayed in touch with them. And they're just so committed to doing so much work to keep their tool safe and educationally, viable, and keeping students on track when they're interacting with it. So oh, hey, good. Everybody's saying great things in there. Oh my gosh, look at the chat exploding. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. I'm seeing Phobiz mentioned on there. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. I'm actually going to be doing a session for Phobiz. Is it Phobiz? I'm doing a webinar for them shortly in a few weeks. Magic School is listed here. Bunch of school AIs showing up. People giving some love to that. Diffit, Brisk. Oh my goodness. How about that inspect writing tool in Brisk? Isn't that the best? That is such a nice, plus it does so many other things, but that is such a great tool. Some more school AI love, some Diffit love. So for those just joining us, basically, we're just going to get started here very quickly, but we were just asking folks to feel free, no obligation, but feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know who you are and where you're from. And we've been mentioning our current favorite AI tool. I shouldn't say favorite, just the current AI tool that we're really hyped about. What's the one we've really been enjoying exploring or digging into? And I mentioned School AI as the one that is my current obsession, but seen a lot of great things
All
in
right.
there. All right. Well,
Well, we
Ryan,
can
do you
get
want to go
started,
ahead?
I think. Yeah, I think people can feel free to keep throwing things in the chat. One thing that Eric was saying before is that he really loves for this to be a conversation, and I think he's happy to hear your comments throughout, whether it's an aha or a hold on or do you mean, and he can pick those up then, or he can kick them to later. Um, but I just want to get into it. I mean, this is the grand finale of Sequoia 2024, at least our spring Sequoia, and we're just so grateful to have Eric Curts as our closer. There's a good baseball metaphor in here somewhere, but this is somebody who that I've been looking to for a long time for his leadership in the space. I was going to say that he feels like kind of the grandfather of the space, and I was like, no, he's not old enough. And then I was like, no, I think he is actually a
I am
grandfather,
a grandfather. I got
but
two
he doesn't
grandkids.
but he doesn't seem like he should be old enough to be the grandfather of the space. But I think it's just the beard and the distinguished, the distinguished appearance. But I think of Eric in two ways. I think of him as this grandfatherly, warm, kind, um, easy place to go get smart on things. Um, with like low bar and high accessibility, somebody who's able to explain things and just break it down in like the simplest terms, and at the same time, um, is a machine. I mean, this guy is like, he's presenting everywhere, he's posting content nonstop, he is all over every social media platform that I'm on, and is just like somehow just doing the good work in the same way every day, and in that way is a machine. And so I don't know how to explain this guy except for that I think he already is bionic. And so who better to learn from than Mr. Bionic himself? And so Eric, we're so grateful for your partnership. We're so grateful for you being a one of our first friends and believers in Evergreen, and we're just so grateful to have this time, and excited to hear from you. Thanks for being here.
Well, I tell you, out of every introduction I've ever had, that is the most recent. No, out of every introduction I've had, that was absolutely one of the best introductions I have ever had, and that means a lot. I do feel I do need to at least respond very quickly to that, in the sense that yes, I do try to share a lot of things. I do try to put a lot of stuff out on social media and produce content and things like that. But really, what it all boils down to is more of a mindset of sharing. As an educator, when I first started off I was a math teacher, and I remember getting excited about, like, a cool lesson or something, and I would be, telling people about it, and I get these weird looks from them, like, we don't do that, and like if somebody had a cool lesson in their classroom, they're like, no, you can't see my cool lesson, and I
Yeah,
just was
yeah,
always like so confused, like, what why are we
yeah,
doing this, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
my philosophy has always been share stuff. So the things you see on my blog or whatever, it's because a teacher that I support in my day job had a question, and I tried to find an answer, and I found an answer that worked for them. I figured, well, maybe the rest of the world has the same question, somebody else might, so
Mm,
let's put it out there. It's just a matter of sharing, and if we all do that, that's fantastic. I encourage people to don't feel like, oh, I need to have a video with certain production values, or a blog of a certain, no, just share what you know, and somebody's going to benefit from it. We're all going to. And the other thing,
yeah,
everything I create you'll see that when you get into the document and stuff. I've always got a blurb saying that, you're allowed to copy, use any of these resources. I release everything under a Creative Commons license. All I ask is leave a link back to where you got it, because I want people to build upon it, because none of it's mine. I didn't
Mhm.
invent this stuff. I learned from somebody else. Somebody else
Mhm.
inspired me. I heard this really cool quote and whatever. This is my iteration, and I'm excited to see your iteration of these things as well. So thank you
Love
for
that.
that introduction, but it is really just because I'm rather transparent. Anything I
And we
create, I
appreciate
go,
it.
I think people might like this. So I
Yeah.
just throw it out there,
Yeah.
and so that's
And we
kind of where
appreciate it.
all of that comes from. So, well,
I love
hey,
it. I love
let's
that.
go ahead and get going, because I'm excited to talk to you guys about the Bionic Educator and to help wrap things up here today. I'm looking so forward to seeing all the recordings from the sessions. I got to catch a little bit here and there, but I've been doing trainings for the last couple of days, and I can't wait to learn more. But let's talk about this. So first of all, a little bit of housekeeping. I did put a link into the chat earlier. I'll drop it back in there again. It is the link to my resource document here. I'm going to drop that in the chat there. It's just bit.ly/Curts-AI. That's my main AI resource document that most of my sessions pull from. It doesn't go, slide by slide along with this session, but a lot of the common content is in there. And so that document, I would encourage you to pull up and bookmark, add to your drive. You can make a copy if you want. The only danger is it changes all the time because I'm constantly updating that document. So if you do make a copy, I'd say periodically click on the link at the top to get back to the original, because next week there's going to be new links in there, because AI never stands still. It keeps moving and evolving. So go ahead and pull that up while we're waiting. If you want, again, you don't have to. You do not have to have that open for the session, but feel free to. Um, while you're doing that, we do want to remind you that everybody who's presenting would love your feedback. There is a bit.ly for that, bit.ly/, SEQCon. I don't know if you say SICQUON, I don't know how you guys pronounce that as an abbreviation, but 2024, that'll get you to an option to give feedback. Do want to introduce myself real quick. Hey, everybody, my name is Eric. This is my 32nd year in education. Yes, I am a grandpa and old enough to be so. And I started off as a middle school math teacher, taught that for 7 years, then moved into a role as a tech coach, and I've been doing that ever since. That is my day job. I work full time at a regional service center, an educational service center here in Northeast Ohio, supporting about 35 school districts, and then do on the side my own consulting business, traveling around, working with schools, conferences, organizations, and so forth. Happy to work with you guys. If anybody ever is looking for a trainer or whatever, feel free to reach out. If it's something that works out, I would love to do so. Um, I am, like I said, a grandpa. Yes, here's my grandson Gavin, my granddaughter Morgan, and all of my hobbies and interests and things like that. I'm a big New York Times crossword puzzle nut. Just hit day 500 in my streak, 500 days of solving the New York Times crossword puzzle each day. So I am a serious nerd. I do have a lot of ways to stay connected with me. You can use this bit.ly if you need it, but all of this is at the top of that document we started off with. So if you do get in that document, it's all up there. Basically, my blog, I run a website called controlaltachieve.com. That's where I share out all of my EdTech resources, my videos, my training guides, my updates, my news, my templates. It's all there. You can access everything as a hub from that spot. All my socials, my YouTube channel. I do a weekly email newsletter. I've got a Facebook group, an email discussion group. Whatever works for you, you can find a way to connect. And so I would encourage you to do that. All right. Well, enough introduction. With all of that said, let's go ahead and we're going to dive on into this. I think I am going to turn off my video, because I don't know that you need to see me while I'm doing all this, but I'll definitely pop back up at the end as well. But let's go ahead and get on into this. So we're going to be talking about the Bionic Educator here today to wrap up this wonderful conference. And like I mentioned, give you a little bit of an idea where this came from as to why we're talking about the Bionic Educator. As I mentioned, I started off as a teacher, so I taught at North Canton Middle School, taught eighth grade math. There's actually a picture of me there in my very first year teaching. I do still have the same quantity of hair. It's just moved from the top of my head down to my beard. But that's where I started off. And now, like I said, I work for the Stark County Educational Service Center. We have a building on the Stark State College campus. And that's my job now. And like I said, I do a lot of consulting and training and traveling around and stuff. So that's kind of what led to what we're talking about here today, because for years and years, I've been going around doing trainings, and one common session I did was a keynote that dealt with preparing our students for the future, things that, certainly a very common topic you would mention in a keynote. And during that keynote, I would always talk about, so what do you think is going to be different in the future? What jobs may go away by the time our students graduate? And I tell the teachers who are attending, think about the students you're teaching when they get out in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. How might the future be different? And they would typically, I'd have a Google form they could submit, their ideas on, and I would then display those up on the screen. And this is a common representation of what I would get. This is actually from one of the conferences I did. I took all of everybody's responses and put them into a word cloud. And this is not surprising. People would say things like, oh, bank teller, that's a job that's going to be gone in the future, or factory jobs, or postal workers, or assembly line, or cashier. I mean, goodness, cashier, totally get that. I go to Sam's Club and I just use the app and scan things as I put it in my cart, and I show somebody a QR code on the way out the door. The point was, every time I did this, though, invariably, no matter what, somebody always said teachers. That always showed up, that they were worried that teachers' jobs would be gone in the future. And usually more than just one person. A lot of folks would say, and this one, people said librarians as well, and secretaries. So I mean, we have a lot of school jobs got listed there. And so I started thinking, oh my goodness, is this a concern? Is this something that people are worried about? And that's what birthed the Bionic Educator. That's where this particular keynote came from. And it was based on the question, will technology ever replace a teacher? That was the driving question that people seemed to have. And I wondered, okay, maybe we better take a look at this. Now, another way of wording that would be, who or what is the best teacher in the world? And so either way is fine. However you want to look at it, we can say, will technology replace a teacher? Who or what is the best teacher in the world? But that's the question. That's what we're going to do for the next, 45 minutes or whatever this, might be. We're going to strive to answer that question. At least I'm going to give you my answer to that question. You may disagree with it, but I hope to present a decent case as to what my answer is to that question. Now, this is not a new question. We've been asking this for a long, long time. Here's a couple of slides with some, I'll pull up here in a second with some images, some drawings, some diagrams, some pictures of predictions from the past about how education would change in the future, how technology would replace a teacher. So, for example, we might recognize this from the Jetsons, where we have a robot teacher doing the instruction. So a robot has replaced the teacher. Here's one I don't know where it's from, but it's an old illustration that was predicting in the year 2000, where basically a teacher would be relegated to simply dropping books into a machine that would get cranked, and then the knowledge would go up through these wires and come down into the students' heads. And that's how the students would learn. And that's all the teacher's job would be. Except for this poor student here who apparently is not learning, or maybe they already know. I'm not sure what their fate is, the one that's doing the cranking. Another prediction, here is one where a teacher again has been replaced. In this case, it's just like a video up front that is playing here. that is giving instruction. There's no, teacher in the room. But do note, all these students working on their math problems here, there are these really long bars with rubber balls on the end that come down and whack them on the heads if they get the wrong answer. So not sure, not sure if that's the best way to teach math, although this child here does seem to be enjoying it quite a lot. I'm not sure. And then here's one that I do know where it's from because it says in the bottom left, this was from the Chicago Tribune in 1960. And it's their vision of the future where you've got a student who's learning at home. They've got this device, which is much like a computer. There's a TV instructor. So this is YouTube or Google Meet or Zoom. There's an electronic notebook. So there's Google Docs and some test questions. So there's Google Forms. Honestly, not that far off of what happened during COVID, honestly. Having said that, though, they didn't do a great job of predicting Wi-Fi or broadband access because they do still have rabbit ears popping out there. Although they did do a good job of predicting those open shoulder dresses that were really popular a few years back. So that was pretty accurate there. The point is, this is not a new question. It's been going on forever. Even in my 32 years of education. For example, when computers, came out, it's like people are saying, so computers now, they've got all this information and all these abilities. Maybe we don't need teachers. Maybe computers will replace teachers. And then, the internet, of course, with, connection to all of the world's knowledge in the palm of your hands, like, oh, well, maybe that will replace teachers. And then, YouTube, online video, anything you want to watch, you can, learn anything that you need to on YouTube. All of that has been lauded as possibly something that was going to, take the place of a teacher, but we're still here. It hasn't happened yet. But 2 Novembers ago, so just about a little over a year ago, a new contender showed up, and that was ChatGPT. And suddenly we're like, okay, now we have the new contender. Is this the technology that is going to replace a teacher? That is artificial intelligence. And so that's what we're going to be taking a look at here is the newest entry in the question to who or what is the best teacher? Will technology ever replace a teacher? That's artificial intelligence. Now, I don't think I need to go into great depth explaining what artificial intelligence is because everybody here has just finished an amazing conference on it. But for for the good of the cause, basically when I refer to artificial intelligence, I typically mean anytime a computer does something that we would typically think a human is required to do. So I kind of think of it like, can it process things like a human? Can it process language? Can it process images? Can it process code? Can it use logic? Things that we would normally apply to a human. If a computer can do that, then we, typically call that artificial intelligence. Now, a very specific kind of artificial intelligence is what has exploded over the last year and a half, and that's generative AI. AI that can create new content. It can create text. It can create images, music, and code. We feed it billions or trillions of pieces of information. And then from that, it can generate new content. Now, we get really excited about all of this. At least I do as an educator. I don't know if everybody does. But this is massively impactful already. But when we talk about the future, when I think about my grandkids, when I think about Gavin and Morgan, who, 12, 13, 14 years from now, when they graduate high school, what the world is going to look like. Because there's a lot of studies saying this is going to have massive impact on these future jobs. One study was estimating 300 million jobs in the next 5 years, according to this study, would be replaced or significantly affected. They'll be impacted in some big way. And the type of jobs there, it wasn't the word cloud I showed you earlier with cashiers and bank tellers. It's creation jobs, jobs where we're making things like content writing, journalism, customer support, data analysis, art, programming, legal research, marketing, translation, financial analysis, medical diagnosis, and education and tutoring. Yeah, those are the kind of jobs that are going to be significantly affected by this generative AI. So, with all of that said, let's do it. Let's dive in. Let's work on this question. Will this technology replace a teacher? Who or what is the best teacher in the world? To do that, let's dive in. Let's take a look at artificial intelligence and see how it is already mimicking a human. How is it in some ways already able to replace some of the things that we do? So we're going to do this in different categories, and each one it's going to be something that normally a human would do that the AI can do. So we're going to start off with language processing and just run through a couple examples on each one of these to get a better idea of what AI is capable of. So when it comes to language processing, actually, we've had AI processing language for a long time. This is not a new thing. Like if you've used Gmail Smart Reply and you go to reply to a message and you get those little suggestions at the bottom, hey, you might want to put this in as a response. Yeah, that's AI. It's reading the message and it's giving some possible options. Or Gmail Smart Compose or Google Docs Smart Compose, where you're writing along and suddenly it's suggesting what you might want to finish the sentence with. That's AI. If you're using the Google Translate mobile app and you're, pointing your phone at a sign, it's able to take that, text and translate it right inside of your screen, so you can see that in a different language. That's AI. Tools like verse by verse. This is a neat one from Google, where basically you type in the first line of a poem and then you choose three famous American poets out of a big list of them. And then the AI says, well, here's what Walt Whitman would write for the second line, etc. And so you can now get inspired by those poets. You can use their words. You can, modify their words. But verse by verse, you can write a poem together with AI versions of those poets. But now we've got, the advent of the big guns. We've got ChatGPT, we've got Microsoft Copilot, we've got Google Gemini, we've got Claude, and that's just a couple of them. I mean, there's way more than that. Mistral just put out their chat tool the other day, and I'm really impressed by it. It is really good. So and then there's others. There's Pi, there's Perplexity, there's Grok. There's so many of them out there. But these tools are now the current height of language processing. So I've got each of these pulled up. I've got Gemini here. I've got ChatGPT. I've got Copilot. I've got Claude. Let's say we just want to drop something in here and see it doing some quick processing here. So maybe I'm a teacher and I need to be teaching a lesson coming up soon about biological viruses. Maybe I'm a science teacher and I'm going to be teaching some students about that. I'm like, I better make sure I understand how to explain this. So I could pop over here and drop in something like, hey, explain how a biological virus works. We could do that in ChatGPT. We could pop over here into Gemini and do the same. We could jump over to Claude and we could submit that into Claude there. And of course, we'll, Claude didn't take my response. There we go. There it goes. And then Copilot. We could jump over to Microsoft Copilot and do the same thing. Now, in each of these cases, I'm sure most people here are very familiar with these tools, so I don't need to teach you the whole thing. You understand that. But basically, yeah, it's taking my request and it's not copying and pasting information from the internet. It's generating. It's creating an explanation that really doesn't exist anywhere else. And if I asked the same question tomorrow, I wouldn't get the exact same answer. And here's Claude giving its response, and here's Gemini giving its response. Excellent. And here's ChatGPT doing the same thing. So they're all doing a great job doing that. Well, we know that you don't have to stop there. We know we can go further and say, okay, this is good, but it's a little high level. Maybe I'm teaching some younger students. I can say, hey, can you put that in simple terms, and we know that we're able to do that. And it can now say, sure thing. Let's say that it's, like a tiny pirate, and it's gotta get a ship, which is the cell in your body. And so it's going to, attach, it's going to take over, it's going to create more pirates, and there's a battle going on. It's doing a fantastic job of explaining the concept of a virus in simpler terms. And of course, we can go further than that. We can say, this is fantastic. I think my elementary students are going to love this. But how about we explain that? Let's put that in the form of a poem in the style of Dr. Seuss, And so now it's going to take everything it knows about viruses and everything it knows about teaching younger students in simpler terms how they're like a virus. And now it is writing a poem in the style of Dr. Seuss that I could use to teach that. So that's the power of these large language models, to be able to process language, to stitch together different styles and different concepts and put things in words that will make sense to us. So fantastic stuff there. Anyway, so awesome, awesome, awesome. So that's one of the big things with language processing, is how far we have come with ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, and the like. But doesn't stop there. How about image processing? So yeah, AI can also process images like a human can. Again, not a new thing. Google's been doing this for a long time. I use this as a demo sometimes. They've got this website where you can test this out and see what their Vision AI is like, where basically I can drop an image here and ask it to try to figure out what that is a picture of. And so what I'm going to do, I've got a picture of my grandkids. That's what I'm going to end up using here. I'll show you what the picture looks like first. Let me drag it over so you can see it. We went to pick out some pumpkins not too long ago, back in the fall. And so that was a picture of them at the pumpkin farm. So let's say I come here and I drag and drop that picture into their API. Now, interestingly enough, I have to say I'm not a robot. I mean, it is a robot, but I'm not a robot. But there we go. And now the AI is processing that, and it's saying, okay, I see two faces. Most likely joy on face one, and very likely joy on face two. I agree. That is correct, And then objects, it's picking out all the things that are in there: person, clothing, glasses, jeans, pumpkins, and it's going through and it's dissecting that image. And that's what AI can do. And so we now are able to, use AI and things like Google Photos. You upload your pictures there and you don't have to tag them. It identifies them for you. So you can just say, hey, I need to find my pictures of my cat, and it'll find every picture of your cat, for example. Or there's tools like Auto Draw, where you can just sketch out a dog, maybe, and then Google tries to guess what it is, and it can replace your version with a better version of it. And so that's, AI understanding an image. Or sometimes it's understanding an image in the sense of like a video input. So here is Semiconductor from Google, where you can conduct a virtual orchestra by moving your arms inside of your webcam, and it responds to that. Or a tool like Socratic. This is a free mobile app from Google that is a homework helper for students. They simply point the camera from their phone at their worksheet, their textbook, the web page they're learning, whatever it is, and the AI takes a picture of it and then figures out what it is the student is learning, and then finds YouTube videos that teach that concept. It finds web pages that explain that information. So it uses AI to identify the visual input and then provide support for the student. There's things like Google Lens, where you can just point your phone at anything and Google will tell you what it is. Like, what kind of a dog is this? Just point your phone at it and it'll be like, oh yeah, this is a corgi, or whatever the case might be. Or you can point your phone at text and it can translate the text, it can read it aloud to you, things like that. Now, with AI chat tools like Gemini and ChatGPT, you now can add images as part of your prompts. You can say, hey, I've got a picture. Can you tell me more about this? So let's say we were talking about about viruses earlier here. What if I had a picture and I was wondering, is this a picture of a virus? So I'll show you the picture first that I'm going to drop in here. So I'm going to upload that. Now, that's actually some bacteria, so it's not a virus. But let's say I'm wondering if that is. I could come here and I could say, let's upload an image, and I'll go to my resources here and I'll find that bacteria picture there. And then I'll ask it, I'll say, is this image a virus or is it something else? And so now what it's going to do is it's going to do a like a reverse search on that. It's going to dissect that image and try to tell me what it is I'm looking at there. And hopefully it'll say it says, no, this is a bacteria. And now it's explaining the differences between viruses and bacteria. So that's really helpful there. Now, a lot of tools can do that sort of thing. That's not just a Gemini thing. ChatGPT 4 has the vision feature built into it as well, where you can upload a picture and then it can explain exactly what that image is. Now, it doesn't stop with just understanding images. They can also create images. So, for example, with Gemini, I asked it to generate images of a castle on a hill at night with a moon in the sky and a river below. And then I asked it to do it in different styles. I'm like, do it as Legos, do it as a stained glass window, and do it as pixel art from, old video games. And basically that, it was able to generate all of those. And there's loads of tools that are able to do that sort of thing, whether it's Ideogram, another one that I've just fallen in love with recently. Ideogram is free, and it actually does a really good job of including text in the images. It does better at that than pretty much any of the AI image generator tools I have seen. But there's loads of other ones. Canva has text to image built into it. Microsoft Bing has their image create. Of course, DALL-E 3 from OpenAI, the ChatGPT people, that's a powerful one. I used DALL-E 3 the other day, asking it to make a picture of a bearded man in his 50s on a stage presenting a session at a technology conference, and it generated a couple of those. So pretty close, pretty accurate there, not all that far off. But the thing is, yeah, I could now go to any of these tools and I could pop over to like Gemini. I could say, hey, can you make an image for me of a biological virus as if it was a pirate, and I could ask Gemini to do that, or I could pop over to ChatGPT and ask it to do that. Copilot is also able to generate images like that as well. Or like I said, I really like that Ideogram site. And so let's pop over to, we'll let Copilot finish here. Copilot usually doesn't like if you leave the tab. It tends to stop generating if you walk away from the tab. So I will let Copilot finish its generation, and then we'll see. There we go. Oh, well, not very much virusy. Not the best job that time. Oh, actually, Gemini did a pretty nice job. That one's a pretty good one. That's actually really cute. That's a great virus that looks like a pirate. I like that one. How did ChatGPT do? Again, I don't know, didn't do a good job on the virus end of it, but let's pop over to Ideogram, or is it Ideogram? Ideogram, I don't know. But let's say create an image of a biological virus as if it was a pirate with text that reads the virus pirate. And we'll drop that in there. And so that's the one that I said, if you ask for text with it, it actually does a really good job of being able to process that as well. Let's see what we get here. We'll give it a moment. This is pretty quick. Shouldn't take too long. Again, it looks like we might be getting oh, now that one's the closest to actually looking like a virus, though. So that's pretty good. Some of the other ones, it leaned more into the pirate end of it, but that's pretty good. It didn't include the text on that one, although on some of the others we did get the virus pirate there, so that's pretty good. So it's amazing how we now have image processing. But then there's also music processing, things like assisted melody, where you play a tune, then the AI plays along with you. Hum to search, where if you don't know what a song is, you can hum it, and in the Google search can then identify what the song is you are humming. There's the Freddie meter, where you can see how well you sing like Freddie Mercury from Queen. You pick a song, sing it, and the AI will judge you on your pitch, your melody, and your timbre. And yes, I did get that 61% on Bohemian Rhapsody. Rhapsody, but no, I'm not doing it today because it took like 5 attempts, and that's the best that I got on that. There's things like Music LM from Google, which you describe the music you want, and then it generates that. And then Music FX, where you can do the same thing. If you want to try that out, go in and you can describe the song, the type of music you want, and it'll generate it for you. Just as a quick example, I will pop over to Music LM's page just because I was so impressed with all the different types of examples they gave here, where they gave it, text and pictures and things, and it generated image, or it generated music. Because at the very, very bottom here, they have a section of accordion solos where they prompted it with accordion death metal. And you know what? If AI exists for nothing else than to have created accordion death metal, it has been worth it. Let's take a quick listen. Let's see. There you go. So yes, AI is all worth it. Beyond music, we of course have speech processing. If you use, Google Docs and you use the speech, the voice typing feature, where you click the microphone and you start speaking, and everything you say, it types up for you. That's AI, and it's a wonderful tool. We've had that for years. It's so great for students who struggle with typing or struggle with spelling, or they hurt their hand or whatever reason, to be able to get their ideas onto the page. Now, yes, should they learn to type? Absolutely, that's a good thing, but let's not have their inability or their struggles with typing to limit their ability to express themselves. So using a tool like this is a fantastic support for students. Automatic captioning is AI, things like read along. This is for younger students. You read a story, the AI listens to you. If you get stuck on a word, it helps you with that. This is from Google, a free tool, which, by the way, everything I'm showing you today, these are free tools. Somebody did mention if there was a cost for the ideogram tool. No, that is free. And everything I'm showing you here, every one of these tools, these are all free. Now, some of them, many of them, have a paid version, but everyone has a robust free version. I'm all about free, because I work with a wide range of schools who have, budgets that sometimes are very limited, and I always want to make sure I'm sharing tools that you can use for free. There's things like interview warm-up, where the AI asks you interview questions. You answer the questions, it transcribes your words, and it gives you feedback on how to improve your speaking skills, how to improve your interviewing skills. That's another one from Google. Then there's tools like 11 Labs, where you can clone voices. I took like 5 minutes of my voice from a YouTube video of mine. I uploaded it to 11 Labs. And so now I can come here and I can just pick my voice, and then I can type in anything I want it to say. Let's go ahead and hit generate and see how this goes. Should take just a moment here. Let's see. Good afternoon or good evening. I am so excited to be speaking with you today about artificial intelligence in education. Awesome. There we go. So has it been me all along, or did I just put all of this when I turned off the camera? Is it because I'm going and having a sandwich now, and this has all been put into 11 Labs ahead of time? Maybe so. Who knows? Could be. All right. Well, let's keep on going, because it gets even crazier. We have video processing. Recently, OpenAI announced their Sora tool, which generates video from text. You put in a text description, and then it will create a video from it. Now, I'm not going to play this whole video. It's 10 minutes long, but I would encourage you to go to the website, check it out, and watch it. The point is, the video clips you're seeing here, these are all generated just from a prompt. So in this case, a kangaroo doing a disco dance, and it is a video that is completely AI generated. The next one I think that pops up here is some golden retriever puppies playing in the snow. Now, you look at that and you're like, no, that was just AI just made that video. That's, we've gone from, text to image to text to audio, now text to full video, where the AI is generating that. And it goes on and on and on from there. Beyond that, let me go to another example here. Here's one where I used a tool called Hey Gen to modify an existing video. So I'm going to play you just a a very brief little intro here. This was a video I made for a conference I did back in the fall. So this is the original video. Hopefully it comes through well enough. I know we're going through Zoom, so it might get choppy, but hopefully it gives you the idea. This is the original.
Good morning. My name is Eric, and I am so excited to be learning with you today. Thank you so much for having me here for the Technology Conference. Today, we're going to be discussing artificial intelligence and all the ways it can be used for teaching, learning, creating, reading, writing, and so much more.
All right, so that was the original. Let's move to the next slide, and I'll show you what I did.
Good morning.
There we go. So I ran it through HeyGen, and I said, hey, can you put this in Spanish for me? That's one of the features that HeyGen can do. It can do translation. So this is the same video after it popped out of HeyGen a few minutes later.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Eric y estoy muy emocionado de estar aprendiendo contigo hoy. Muchas gracias por tenerme aquí para la conferencia de tecnología. Hoy vamos a discutir la inteligencia artificial y todas las formas en que se puede utilizar para enseñar, aprender, crear, leer, escribir y mucho más.
And yes, not only did it take my voice and keep my voice, translate my words, but it moved my mouth to match what I was saying there. It's just fascinating, just amazing how far we have come with all of that. Now, having said all of that, my introduction to AI, what got me excited about it actually wasn't any of the things we just saw. Now, I am excited about all of those, don't get me wrong, but that's not what caught my eye. So let's move forward here again. I'm going to jump past there. There we go. And talk about logic processing and what got my attention. Not when ChatGPT came out, not when these other ones came out. I mean, trust me, they got my attention. But what was the thing that initially got my eye on AI? And it was logic processing. And it was back in 2016, 2017, right around that time. And it was a really interesting news story that I came across in my feeds because I'm a big Google person and it popped up and I dove into this. And what was happening was Google had developed an offshoot, a portion of their company called DeepMind. Google DeepMind is their AI research arm. And they had taken on a project to see if they could train an artificial intelligence computer to play the game of Go. Now, if you don't know much about Go, that's okay. You don't really have to know too much about it, other than it's an ancient Chinese game where you're putting these tiles on the board and you're trying to take over certain portions of the board. Again, I am not an expert at all at Go. Here's the point. The game, the rules aren't all that complicated. What the challenge is look how big the board is. There are so many spaces on the board. So mathematically, the number of possible moves and configurations are more than the number of atoms in the universe. Now, that's just mathematics. That's just exponents. That's just the way it works. The different possible moves and configurations, there are more of those than there are atoms in the entire universe. So what did that mean? That meant this was the holy grail for AI. This was the nobody's ever going to be able to create a computer that can play Go because there's just too many options. A computer could never take the time to crank through every possibility to pick the best next move because, no matter how fast computers are, you can't crank through that many possibilities. Well, that was the challenge. And so Google with DeepMind, as that was their project, they developed AlphaGo. And little by little by little, they trained it. And the way they did it was kind of a clever approach here. What they did was instead of just saying, hey, you're going to brute force through all these moves, they basically told it, these are the rules of Go. Now, go play yourself. And basically, the AI played itself millions and millions and millions and millions of times. They also fed it examples of previous games. They gave it loads and loads and loads of previous games, but the bulk of its training was playing itself over and over and over again. And Instead of telling it, this is a good move, they let it discover it. And that is the basis of machine learning and of artificial intelligence, is putting enough data in that the computer starts making connections. And so eventually it worked its way up through the ranks, starting to beat people and beating better people and better people, until finally it was up against Lee Sedol. So Lee Sedol, the greatest Go player in the world. This is all this guy did. This is his whole life. And so 2017, AlphaGo goes up against Lee Sedol. And like we said, that's the game. More permutations than atoms in the universe. And like I said, instead of just telling it, what moves to make, they trained it on letting it play itself millions of times. So the game starts playing, and basically what happens is, as AlphaGo is coming up to a move, it can't possibly crank through every possibility. So instead, it pulls upon all of its experience in the past, and it uses hunches, it uses intuition, it uses the strongest connections that it's developed, and it starts being creative and making moves. Well, here's the thing. You may have noticed in the picture earlier, there were people in the back who were monitoring this, because this was a televised thing, and they are like color commentators. You got to watch the video. There's videos of this, and they're saying the craziest things. They're like, AlphaGo will make a move, and the people are like, why on earth is it doing that? That is the most that's the most bizarre move. Who would make that move? And then like 5 moves later, they're like, oh no, that's what it was doing. It was coming up with moves nobody had ever even seen before, strategies nobody had ever even used before. And in the end, it won. AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol, the greatest Go player in the world. That's what got my attention. That's the thing that caught my eye, and I went deep into AI at that point. So, with all of that said, with all of these examples that we've just seen here, I'm sure one or many of them may have, impressed you or caught your attention. My question is, what's our reaction to this? How do we respond to what we've just seen here? What is the response of schools? What is the response of educators? What's the response of superintendents and curriculum directors and boards of education? And what is the response? Do we ignore it? Do we pretend, oh, it's just another fad, it's going to go away, we'll ride this one out? How many more years till retirement? Do we push back against it? Do we try to block it, shut it down? We're gonna, let's put it in the filter and block this thing. Are we afraid of it? Do we respond in fear to it? All of those, I get it. I mean, yeah, those are all understandable responses, and probably ones we've seen before. Think about way back when calculators were first, becoming popular. This is an article from back in 1972, talking about new calculators catching the public's fancy. And in this article, they interviewed Dr. Vogely, a superintendent at a school, asking Dr. Vogely what he thinks about these affordable pocket calculators. And his response is, well, since schools still stress computation skills, a calculator might not be a wise present for a young pupil. Teachers will view them as a crutch, and this is an accurate view if you look at the curriculum. So we've dealt with this for a long time. This is not a new kind of concern to fear it or to push back against it or to try to ignore it. But that is not the response that I am advocating. That's not my response to AI. I doubt it's yours. You probably wouldn't be here today, but that's not my response. My response actually comes from a very similar event to the AlphaGo competition that happened 20 years before AlphaGo. 20 years before Google's DeepMind beat Lee Sedol in Go, another competition happened. This was the game of chess. In 1997, IBM had developed Deep Blue. And Deep Blue was their machine learning AI computer program to play chess. And it got better and better and better. And it started beating people and better people and better people until Gary Kasparov, the greatest chess player in the world, went up against it. And you can probably imagine what happened. Well, maybe from the look on his face there, he lost the game. AI, the Deep Blue computer, beat the greatest chess player in the world. And it sent shockwaves throughout the world as people are like, oh my gosh, a computer beat the smartest chess human we have. Well, after that occurred, he was interviewed, and there was a question that was asked that might seem familiar to you. He was asked, so Gary, since you just lost to this computer, does that mean, is a computer now the best chess player in the world? Who or what is the best chess player in the world? Very similar to the question I started off with here today. Well, his answer, I think just was the perfect response to this. He could have been angry. He could have been, I've spent my whole life becoming the best chess player. He could be angry. He could be fearful. He could try to make excuses. He could try to ignore it. That is not what his response was. I think his response needs to be our response. He said, when asked, who's the best chess player in the world? He said, you know what? I got to give it to you. The best chess player in the world is not a human. It's true. I mean, I lost. It is not a human. But the best chess player in the world is not a computer. The best chess player in the world is a human using a computer. And he went on to form something called advanced chess. Sometimes we call it cyborg chess or Ivanov chess or centaur chess. But the idea is a human, there's Gary, they get partnered with a computer and they play as a team against another human partnered with a computer. It's the best of the human, the best of the computer together. And they said this raised the level of chess to heights they had never dreamed of before. They were able to do things they had never done before. And the same thing was echoed with Lee Sedol when he lost. He wasn't angry. He was certainly sad that he lost, but he said, no, I've been inspired. I'm learning new ways to play this game that I never even thought of before. And that's my answer to the question. Who is the best teacher in the world? Well, I don't mean this in a negative way. I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say this, but I would say the best teacher is not a human. But of course, the best teacher is not a computer. The best teacher, you know where I'm going here, is a human using technology to its full potential. The same for a student. The best learner is a human using technology to its full potential. When I was a kid, I loved The $6 Million Man. That was one of my favorite shows. Which is where this title comes from. He was the Bionic Man. Now, I won't take the time to play the whole intro here to it, but if you aren't familiar with it, basically the character Steve Austin was an astronaut, and he was doing a test mission in a jet here on Earth, and the jet crashed, and he got terribly injured and was going to die. But they said, no, we can rebuild him. We can make him better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. We can make the world's first bionic man. And that was the whole show. Is he's a robotic bionic man. He's got like robotic legs and an arm and a bionic eye and stuff like that. I love that show, but more than anything, I love the lines from that. We have the technology. And so that's what I call upon all of us to be, to say, I am a bionic educator. We have the technology. We've been hoping for this technology for so long. I've been in education for 32 years. We've been looking for the promise of technology that can finally personalize itself to meet every learner where they're at, to adapt to them, to see where their weaknesses are and help meet them, to see where their interests are and help them grow in that way, to come alongside and be a teaching assistant for every teacher. Guys, we're finally there. We have the technology. We can be better, stronger, faster. Now, what does that mean to be better, stronger, faster? I do a whole entire session where I talk just about how we can use AI in education. And it covers things like using AI to help with tasks and student support and data and reading and writing and conversations and feedback and personal tutoring and coding and so forth. Now, all of these examples, every one of those are in that document that I mentioned at the very beginning. I'll drop the link back into the chat again if anybody does need that once again, bit.ly/Curts-AI. In that document, you're going to find, if you go far enough down, you're going to find a whole section in here where we talk about the uses of AI in education. So starting on page 6, page 7, page 8, into page 9. And for every one of these, I've tried to collect together examples. And you can click on these links and you can see practical examples, prompts, tools, things of ways we can use AI. So it's things like saying, yeah, let's use AI to help write a lesson plan, to create an assessment, to create rubrics. Let's use a lesson plan to create differentiated content to meet all of our students where they're at. Let's use it to help just save time with data, doing data cleanup, analyzing PDFs, summarizing giant amounts of data that we collect. Let's use it to help with reading. Let's take a reading text and adjust the reading level of the text. Or let's identify potentially challenging words, pull those out and make a bullet point list with simple definitions for those. So when the student's reading, they can reference those. Let's use AI to create stories that are at a reading level for a student that incorporate characters, items, and events that that student is interested in. Let's help with writing. Let's generate writing prompts. Let's generate story elements. Let's help students when it comes to writing by generating main ideas for them to explore or giving them co-writing opportunities to write along with the AI. Let's involve AI in a conversation. I love these. Let's do a debate with the AI. Pick a topic, tell the AI what its side of the argument's going to be, and then do a back and forth debate with the AI. People sometimes worry that AI is going to be the end of critical thinking. You can just put it in ChatGPT. Nobody's going to think for themselves anymore. I beg to differ. AI is just a tool. It's not good or bad. It's like a hammer. You can build with it, you can destroy with it. It could raise critical thinking. Here's an example. I've done this. I've debated the AI on topics, and it's made me think deeper than I ever would have on my own as I'm trying to come up with arguments back toward it. Or have the AI be a character from a book, have it be somebody from history, have it be somebody from a different place or time, and interview the AI. Let it be an animal, let it be an object. I had a teacher who had ChatGPT pretend to be an earthquake, and the students interviewed an earthquake and learned all about earthquakes. Use AI for feedback on student writing and your own writing, providing personalized feedback to help improve it. Use it as a personal tutor to meet students where they're at and explain topics at any level, at any depth that works for that student. YouTube content, you got a video students need to watch, run the transcript through the AI and have it generate study guides, summaries, questions. Coding, maybe say, Eric, I don't code. You don't have to. You've got a cool idea for something, have the AI help you with that. There's loads of examples that other ed tech friends of mine have done, bunches of ones that I have done here, where I basically said, hey, AI, could you help me generate code to do this simulation, this game, this tool? And the AI can create that. All of these are wonderful, positive examples of building on top of the AI, how it makes us better, stronger, faster, how it makes us bionic educators. And earlier, I was a little rough on Dr. Vogely. Remember, I mentioned how he was saying, yeah, calculators might be a crutch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the thing. I intentionally cut off Dr. Vogely in the middle of his sentence. He actually had a little bit more to say. If you kept reading that, he went on to say, adding that eventually educators would have to revise their thinking to take the new hardware into account. Someday, he predicted, every student will have a calculator built into his desk so that teachers can spend more time on mathematics concepts and less on computation. Ah, Dr. Vogley got it. Dr. Vogley was a bionic educator, realized we can use technology to go beyond, to go deeper than we ever could have otherwise. And you know, folks, when we do that, this isn't going to be the future. It's not going to be a future where teachers and librarians are replaced by technology, because we're going to be the best educators we possibly can be. And I know this this quote has been thrown around a lot, but I think it is so true that I'm not really worried about AI taking my job anyway. It's not the idea of that. The quote is, AI will not take your job. People who know how to use AI will. That's what the future is going to look like. AI integrated into every job that we do. And to be the best teacher, the best student, the best whatever we need to be, it's going to be us using technology to its fullest. So that is my challenge to you, to be a bionic educator and to have your students be bionic learners, to be the best teacher you can be, the best learners they can be. Take all the things you learned here from the last 2 days and implement them to be the best that you possibly can. I want to thank you guys so very much for letting me be a small part of that experience here. All of the resources I have there on AI, of course, you can get to in that document. It covers way more than what we talked about there. There's a whole section on all of the AI tools, a whole section on uses, and then an entire section on addressing potential misuse, how we can address, academic integrity concerns and things like that. So please feel free to dive deeper into that document. But I want to thank you so very much for, again, letting me be a part of that. We want to remind you that they are interested in your feedback. There's a bit.ly link there for providing feedback as well. But as we are at our last minute here, Derek and Ryan, I'm going to turn this back over to you guys as we bring this in for a final landing.
Eric, thanks so much. Really appreciate you and your work, all the sharing that you do, the generous spirit of just putting the things out there in the world and letting people learn from them instead of having the walled garden and keeping the good stuff from getting out. So we really appreciate you and all the work that you do in this space.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah. And we're not going to belabor the point. You all have been here 2 days. It's late on a Friday. You're champions for making it, this far. And thanks for Eric for really being a sweetener at the end, that sweet dessert that makes us want to stay to the end. We're grateful for everybody. We hope to continue the relationship, the conversation, and the work. And so you'll be hearing from us in the next couple of days as things get posted and books go out and things like that. But we just want to say thank you so much for being at Sequoia. Yeah, all the best to you. Happy weekend.
And again, thanks so much. I did see a question asking if it's okay to share these resources. And again, yes, please do. I do indicate at the bottom of all my resources that everything is under a Creative Commons license. You can copy, distribute, adapt. As long as you leave a link back to where you got it from, please do share with others. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody.